Link now, and as soon as it gets it to me, I will put that on our Facebook
Do I
page.
got to press? It says the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. I press OK.
Yes, press OK. All right. Let me get the link over there on Facebook. Okay, so we are good to go. All right, well, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you catch this, if you are not joining us live. My name is Heather Asianbi. I am one of the co-founders for Racine County Eye. Oh, there we go. And I am its current managing editor. This is our Coffee with Candidates conversation with Alderman Jeff Coe from the 1st District. He is running for re-election. Normally, we do have these conversations in our office on Main Street, but I caught a bug this week and I didn't want to infect anybody, so we're doing them via Zoom. So Jeff, thank you for coming and welcome to Coffee with Candidates. Do you want to take a moment and introduce yourselves to the people who are watching this?
I am Jeff Cole. I'm the alderman of the 1st District. I originally ran because of neighborhoods that we had buildings on our blocks up above me that had crack houses and all sorts of other nefarious activity going on. And I ran because I had bullets come through my house years ago, and people used to come by and tell me I should move. And I thought, why? I grew up in this neighborhood. I moved here from Racine Street in 1968 to an 1100 block of Park Avenue at my parents' house. Grew up with 12 brothers and sisters. And then I moved right around the corner. I was the closest kid to my parents' house, and I wanted to be close. And I ran because I thought, why should I move? My thing is trying to improve neighborhoods for the biggest part. And plus, I love doing stuff in the downtown area. So
Okay.
I mean, we could go on, but.
All right. Well, thank you. No, I appreciate you giving us that background. I didn't realize that you had basically lived in the same neighborhood that you grew up in. That's cool. All right, so we're going to jump in. We have 10 questions in 5 different categories. So our first questions revolve around local economy and development. And I know this will be, this hits right at your district. So what are your plans to attract and retain businesses in Racine, especially in the downtown area and along the lakefront?
Well, when I first was elected, we didn't have much going on down here. So over the years, we created a downtown design review that had people fix up their buildings. We had facade grants. Later on in years, we did white box grants to try to attract businesses. We need to attract business in the downtown area because it's the heart and soul, I believe, of the city. And we need this. We as a city need to work better with people and try to get things going. Sometimes it just seems it takes so long to get through the processes at City Hall, and we need to get them moving on a little bit faster. We got all these empty buildings. We got empty buildings downtown.
Wait, can I interrupt you for a moment? When you say get things moving faster, do you mean the whole like approval process, permitting, all of that stuff? Is that like all the things that go on behind the scenes? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, sometimes it's just a hurdle to get through all these different things we have to do to accomplish to get buildings done. And it seems like takes longer than it should. And I think we've got to come up with a way to streamline this a little bit better. We got people that are interested in, for instance, I had a couple businesses interested in facade grants, but they waited so long trying to get through the process at City Hall, they just went without them because they wanted to get their businesses open. And we have to come up with a way. We used to have a downtown design review committee, and now all that is gone. We had architects on this committee. We had different people that knew what we were looking for to keep our buildings, getting our buildings back to looking how they used to years ago. And now it's a different committee structure. And it's people on there don't know about construction and stuff like that. And we need to get back to some of that.
Okay. So how would you address concerns about affordable housing, not subsidized housing, just affordable housing, and rising rent costs in Racine? And do you think that it's appropriate for the city to do so?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No, how would you address concerns about affordable housing and rising rent costs in Racine? And do you think it's appropriate for the city to be involved in any of that?
Well, one thing we have is in the inner city, especially, we have more rental units, but they're substandard rental units. Years ago, we had this neighborhood housing services. We started building brand new homes in these areas. And moving, and then we rehabbed houses to get them to homeowners. Racine Revitalization Partnership just built on 12th and Highland, two big, beautiful homes that went to homeowners. But the process going through City Hall, through all the different committees, not going through all the different departments and stuff, sometimes it just takes way too long. We need to figure out a way to get these moving on a little faster. Because, I mean, we have Habitat for Humanity doing houses here, Racine Revitalization. We have 10 homes that the county wanted to give us a couple of years ago already that are right around this red apple is going to be. Most of these homes most of these homes are boarded up and in my district.
Mm-hmm.
And it took over a year and a half to get this process for the city to accept these homes and get them to places. And Racine Revitalization, I believe, is getting these homes. Somebody already gave them $100,000 to rehab our first home, but we have to go out and get funds for this to help. But we need to get started. We still don't have these houses in our grasp yet. It has to go through. I think the county just approved it. Now it's got to come to the city for us to approve it.
Okay. What about like rental units? Because there's one thing like Racine County in general, but specifically the city of Racine has a serious gap. The inventory is so tight for both like single family homes and apartment living, right? The market is just really, really tight. Excuse me. So what role should the city play, if any, in helping with rising rent costs and or bringing in making sure that there's enough housing for everyone?
Well, I believe we're getting too many. I mean, other areas are going through this. I mean, we're getting too many out of town investors that are getting these houses. We have no control what the rents are. One thing about most people have about a 50-50 home ownership rate to rental. Racine, I believe, is about 65%, is about 50% almost. Everyone else is 65% home ownership and 35% rental. We have a lot of rental, but we have a lot of substandard rental. For instance, I have a property across the street from me. When I moved here in 1979, it was a problem house. No matter who was the landlord, it was a problem house. Took 40 years almost. That's one of the reasons I ran for alderman. I had bullets come through my house. I had my kids here, and I had people telling me I should move. And I said, why should I have to move from my community?
Yeah.
And it took years. A couple years ago, I asked, can you give me a breakdown of how many police calls in the last 10 years? And it's a staggering amount. We had at one property that had two houses on the same parcel. 600 pages of police calls.
Wow.
We had our seal.
Right. So, but
we have to start. So I'll tell you what. So the city finally got these homes. We're tearing them down. That's going to be the best thing that's happened to this neighborhood for a very long time. I mean, and one house in this area kept this neighborhood down for all these years. So I think we're tearing these down. 1100 block of Village Street used to have a lot of rentals that were garbage rentals. We tore them down. We got a couple houses that are going to get rehabbed there. We have to get these houses rehabbed in the inner city, not torn down. We have to work a little bit faster to get these houses rehabbed so they don't go to the elements and we have to tear them down like so many have before.
Okay. So we're going to move on to public safety and community well-being. So public safety is a top concern for residents. Um, and I want you to think about public safety as more than just law enforcement, even though this question concerns law enforcement. The way that we've been talking about it with other candidates is that public safety is about health, mental health, education, addressing poverty. It could even be things like streetlights and making sure our roads get plowed, during bad weather. So what strategies would you support to, sorry, my cat just tried to bite me. Sorry.
That's all right.
What strategies do you support to improve relationships between law enforcement and the community, while also, and anything else that addresses public safety to reduce crime?
Well, I know we have our COP houses where they have meetings at, and I know people, I don't know how many people come to these different places,
Yeah.
but they come when they have issues and stuff like that and talk to Neighborhood Watch about it. I mean, it's a pipe dream of mine, but years ago when I was younger, we used to have police being able to walk the beat that got to know their neighbors. Now around here, our COP officers get 3 years, and it takes them a year to get acclimated, at least to the area.
Yeah.
And trying to get through, and then they get to know the neighborhood, and all of a sudden, a couple years later, we have to start all over. I'd like to see how we can bring in a new COP officer when the training when it's time to switch over, to give these guys like a 6 month window with the old guy that's leaving and try to do this. I know we used to do a lot of different, like the firefighters, we used to do a lot of different events over here, and the firefighters would come and they would show different things we could do to help out with public safety. Let's get smoke detectors in your house and stuff like that, and show the kids what they do. And I mean, uptown, they're doing a thing at the bank now, coffee with a cop. I think it's once a month, trying to come in there to share your issues at the, I can't remember Christina's name of her place. It's an old bank building.
Okay. So there's a lot of discussions also going on at various levels of government about youth engagement programs. What role do you think the city should play in providing opportunities for young people to succeed and stay out of trouble? And I just want to tell you too, and remind everybody else who's had any of these conversations or watched any of these conversations, like I have two screens on my desk. So like I'm looking at you on this one, but the questions I'm asking you are over here. So like I have to keep turning away from you. So I just wanted to let you know that. But anyway, so what role should the city play in providing opportunities for young people to succeed and stay out of trouble?
Well, I think it's the role of everybody in the city. I mean, we have churches involved, we have schools. We have to get more engagement with our kids. A few years ago, I don't know how many, but we somehow or another, we had something going on where they brought a group of children in, 14, 15-year-olds, and they were somebody, I don't remember who paid for the program, but we had youth come in and they asked me to kind of be the head of this thing. And we did this thing called the Downspout Extension Program. And
What was that? When
all
was
right,
that, Jeff?
oh God, I got to say probably about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But anyway, when they first got in it, I will never forget, we had our first meeting at the building across from the police department, the annex. And when the kids came out, they threw all their paperwork all over the ground because people around us said these kids were making a mess. And anyway, they asked me to run this program, and I didn't know too much about it, but I had like I don't know, 10 kids. And we had to go to people's houses
Mhm.
and explain to them what the reasoning, why we would put downspout extensions on people's houses. And I had kids that could go in this neighborhood and explain it in the way they talk. And then, the kids got a different kind of talk than us older folks.
Okay.
And anyway, then I took them to the areas, into the areas like Wisconsin Avenue and stuff to explain it.
Mhm.
And I had one young gal that talked so different. I mean, she talked about, yeah, we all got to get this kind of stuff done, but she was able to flip it and turn it on at a different level, talking to different people on how to get this done. And we ended up doing, I think, about 100 homes, but I had all these kids. And so I'll never forget, I took these kids, I got
How
tour
old were the kids? I'm sorry to interrupt. How old were the
about
kids?
14, 15, 14 to 17, I believe. They were
Okay.
all like, and I made one of the kids. What's funny is I didn't want to do this, but they said, "Could you do this program?" I said, "Because if you don't do it, we're not going to have these kids." These kids got paid back then about $8 an hour or something like
Yeah.
that doing this. We had to go out and help solicit funds and stuff like that. But I took these kids to the water department to show them how water was done and why we would want to keep water out of the
Mhm.
sewers. Well, then a couple weeks later, it was August. It was really hot, hadn't rained in a couple weeks. And I took all these kids down to the wastewater treatment plant. And when you opened the door, it was like overpowering.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause you just there because I'm gonna get him out of here so he doesn't bite me
All
while
right.
I'm talking to you. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry everyone. Okay, get out. Go. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Ooh, he's distracting sometimes. Okay, this is what happens when we're live.
Yep.
Anything can happen. Okay, but so that's so that was like 10 years ago. What can we do now? I mean, it's a great idea and downspouts do help people. So,
Right. Well,
but
that
like
was
what
just one example. When we have to start having, well, when Red Apple gets done this year, I asked well, we're 6 months late because of delays that shouldn't have happened, but we're there. But one thing I asked this principal over at Red Apple, when the time comes, possibly maybe this summer, see how far along they are.
Mhm.
I did it the same thing when we did these neighborhood picnics, but we had this when Walden was over there. Had Walden throw the picnic. These
Yeah.
kids went around the neighborhood to bring people together. We have to get everybody together, working together on the same page,
Okay.
you know. And I don't when sometimes they call up and why do things take so long?
Right.
For instance, I have a house on the 1100 block of Center Street, so half a block away from this school, that has a virtual junkyard in it. I mean,
Mm.
cars all over, and they found ways around everything, and we've been trying to eliminate that. It turns down the neighborhood. It's blight. They're working on vehicles in there, and the problem is, it takes too long. We have to figure out a way to streamline and start getting some of these
Yeah.
things fixed.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to infrastructure and transportation. When you think about road repairs and other infrastructure improvements in the city, what are your priorities?
Well, I think we need to improve our streets. I understand the cash flow problem in that, but I mean, we used to be able to do, and I don't know if we don't have the capabilities of really doing it so much anymore. But when we do streets, when we redo our streets every couple of years or every year, they would go through, tar them and stuff like that, where cracks filled and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and we were able to make the streets last a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And now they just don't have the same capability. When we lost a lot of employees over the years, and we need to figure out a way to make this happen a little bit faster. I don't know. I know the money's the problem. Money is always the problem. Why we can't do this, why we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow or another, we got to figure out a way to make it work. Because our streets, another thing is our railroad tracks. where they're so bad. Well, the city doesn't have any say so over
I was
how
going to say the
railroad.
city has zero control. The railroads maintain their own.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
that's a big part of the thing. I get complaints about that. Well, why isn't the city doing anything? But it's the railroads that we have to go after, and they drag their feet before they finally get it done.
Yeah. Okay. Um, with the push for more sustainable transportation options, do you support expanding public transit and or bike-friendly infrastructure, and why or why not?
Well, I like a lot the bike friendly thing. I really like transit. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get that through the city here. I know they wanted to run KRM through here. I supported that a long time ago, but I mean, all we have is our buses. I don't know. I mean, at night there's Uber. That's how everybody's doing a lot of stuff at night now. I'd like to see where we can get some. I'd like to see a cab service back in town if we ever could do something like that. Um,
Why a cab service?
well, because there's some people Uber is not available. I mean, we got to figure out a way if people want to get around from point A to point B, and there's all options on the table.
Okay. Okay. So moving on to education and workforce development, how can the city better collaborate with Racine Unified School District and local colleges to better prepare students for the workforce? And I want you to think about local colleges as Gateway, Carthage, Parkside, UWM, and even
Mhm.
Whitewater. So those are the education partners. How can the city better collaborate with them to help prepare youth for the future?
Well, I believe we should be working closer with Unified that programs where that would bring kids. For instance, I have my, my daughter went there, and now I got a grandson there that goes to the real school. They
Mhm.
partner with Gateway, and my grandson's taking courses, college courses, while he's in high school at Gateway. So they're working together with Gateway to gain credits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We should be doing more of that in all the schools, and I think trying to get our children, invest in our children to try to help them go to colleges around here because it's really not affordable for
Right.
a lot of people. I could never afford to send my kids. I have 12 brothers and sisters. I couldn't even afford to go to college. And I went to
Yeah.
Gateway for years later. But like I said, I went to Gateway here, and we got a lot of good places to go. We just got to partner unified, and I think the city need to somehow or another collaborate, even and with the county also.
Okay. Do you well, I'm going, this question clearly is a yes, but it's a little, so you clearly support expanding apprenticeship and vocational training programs, but how do you see that working?
Well, I'm not sure how it works over. Like I said, my grandson goes to the real school, but all I know is they got a partnership going on because they hold classes there. And somehow or another, they got a partnership, and we got to come up with something that we can get this into other schools. I don't know how Horlick or Case or anybody does these, but I think there's got to be some type of way where we can collaborate more with the schools in the city.
Okay.
I can't explain it much better than that. I just know how it works over at the real school.
Okay. Um, so final set of questions. How do you plan to improve transparency and communication between city government and its residents? Now, the way we've been talking about is that transparency and communication are two different things, right? So transparency is doing everything, in the public eye, making sure everything's on the up and up, meetings are noticed, everything, all that stuff. Communication with residents is how well is the city communicating all the things they need to be transparent about, right? So how do you think the city's doing with that? And number two, do you think there's room for improvement on both sides?
Well, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. When I first got into this, being alderman, we had open doors at City Hall where people could go in there Now people go in there, every door is locked. They said they can't get in and talk to the departments that they want. And I think we need to get back to that. One thing going on is some of the alders got together. We had no transparency. We used to, when I first got in, we had all of our announcements at a council meeting, and then they got put to committee. But then a lot of the stuff we gave away, I'll say. A lot of our power, we gave, not power, but a lot of our, I don't know what the word is, but we gave a lot of stuff away, and so when we want something for a communication, we put a communication in, and how we set it up is the mayor had up to 90 days to put stuff on there.
Mhm.
And it wasn't happening. And that's why we did what we did to try to get things moving forward better. So at the council meetings, they take a little bit longer. But people, we can read what's on there and everything that we're sending to committees. And I
Mhm.
think that better helps the people understand.
Okay. Um, so last question. What steps will you take if you are reelected to ensure that diverse voices are heard in decision-making processes, particularly from underrepresented communities?
Can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. What if you're reelected, what steps will you take to ensure diverse voices are heard in decision-making processes, particularly from underrepresented communities?
Well, I think it would be really good for us as a city to, like, for instance, when we have somebody that wants to build something in the neighborhood, something comes up, we have neighborhood meetings so people understand what we're doing. I think we need to do more engagement out there when people wonder why we're building this or why we're doing that.
Mhm, mhm.
We have to figure out a way to get more people engaged. I mean, more people to come to our meetings, or maybe we need to go out in the public in different areas to hold meetings where some people may not be able to attend. Because I mean, I know a lot of people call me and says we can't get this, we can't get that, we don't know what's going on, and it frustrates them. And
Okay.
we need to have a better line of communication with everybody. I mean, I
Okay.
think that the best thing to do is to try to get everybody in the same room working together for the greater cause.
Excellent. All right. Well, Jeff, in our last minute or two, do you want to make your final appeal to the residents of the first district on why they should reelect you?
Well, I just want people to know how hard I am working out there trying. Um, we have meetings with different groups and stuff, and I'd like to do more. My hours at work are a little difficult sometimes. I work 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. When I have my meetings, I go to work early and then come back to work and stuff like that. But I'm always open. People call me and try to do what I can to help people get what they want done out there. And I think it's important that all of us work together, collaborate. So
Okay.
I'm just hoping, I mean, I'm very open to everybody. I'm hoping to do, I mean, I used to do the neighborhood picnics and that of engaging so people could get together, but hard to get volunteers and stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we need to do more engagement. That's why I'm working with when Red Apple's getting close to be opening, trying to see if we can do something so they can introduce themselves to the neighborhood.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. Well, thank you. So everyone, again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're seeing this. Thank you for joining us. Jeff, thank you for spending time with me and answering these questions. I know that it can be a little difficult to be kind of on the spot like that, so I appreciate you being willing to do it and taking the time. Um, so just everybody, it is currently, as Jeff and I are having this conversation, it is Friday, March 21st. Early voting started on Tuesday, the 18th. Election day is April 1st. If you have not voted yet, you still have plenty of time to do that. You can go to your city clerk's office, your village clerk's office, and cast your absentee ballot. If you want to wait until election day, the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you have not registered to vote, you can actually still do that on election day. Just make sure you have your photo ID to vote. also to register, and I think you need 2 pieces of mail addressed to you at your address. But we just want everybody to get out and exercise their right to vote. We're not endorsing any candidates. We're just presenting these conversations so that people can get to know candidates like Jeff and you can make your decision. So thank you again, Jeff, for joining us. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great Friday and an amazing weekend.
All right, thank you, and thank you
Take
for your time.